Hi guys, just finished recording a podcast interview with my guy Colten Nahrebeski. He's actually an agency owner that focuses on SEO and web development, but he has an amazing background managing a 8-figure e-learning enterprise, and he's going to share some of these tips in today's podcast, along with some other things on, for example, how you could leverage an e-learning product in order to get more customers for your agency, use e-learning platforms to train your team or upsell your current customers. That being said, there's a lot of value I want you to miss. And yeah, let's hop to the interview, and I hope that you guys enjoy.
All right, guys. So for today's episode, we have Colten Nahrebeski. I had to try it out loud the first time that I tried to say it, brother. He is a super cool guy that is going to walk us a little bit on his experience managing an 8-figure and e-learning enterprise in the past, then a little bit of his transition to starting his own marketing agency. He's in the web development, SEO, Google Ads space, helping mostly healthcare and finance businesses. And well, a couple of curious data that I think that for people listening is going to be interesting to know is that this guy speaks Japanese. Colten, please, I want you to introduce yourself to the public, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you for the intro. So I guess to your point, like speaks fluent Japanese, that's kind of a weird one, but like I lived in Japan for
Yeah.
5-ish years, so that's why. But that's where I started my career. So I began my career in market research. Actually, I started at Hitachi. I was in human resources for about a year, but that wasn't my jam at all. But no, I started like getting into marketing with like market research, and we're doing studies for like companies like Amazon and Sony and L'Oreal and IKEA and game development companies that wanted to like break into the Japanese market and sell their services. And so like, how do you position your product? How do you position your service? How do you talk about it in Japanese so that Japanese consumers would buy it, right? So I thought that was really cool, but I wanted to see what was happening on the other side of that research, and so that's kind of where I broke into the actual digital marketing side. I moved companies, and they put me in house for a year and a bit at Philip Morris Japan, like the big tobacco company.
Yeah.
And we were in charge of their points economy. So if you bought like products there, it was like, how many points do you earn? What do you do with the points? How do we engage the community? How do we leverage, 1 million plus tobacco users who are like earning these points and like, make more profit through digital marketing for Philip Morris. That was good, but eventually got married, wanted to come back to Canada. So we came back here. And then, as you say, I found myself in a VP of marketing role at an 8-figure e-learning company. And the whole jam was like, it was a very vertically integrated company where we had like, part of the company would create e-learning. We had managers who would then like in-source e-learning, so we could like buy the rights to certain content. And then we actually had our own LMS platform, a learning management system with e-commerce integration. And then we were able to sell that. So kind of, I was marketing the company, I was marketing our content library. And then we would also make e-learning for clients as well as like kind of a service. So we were marketing that as well. So there's a lot of things to sell, but the bottom line was in my almost 2 years there, like I learned a lot about what e-learning is. And I still think, it's funny, we're coming out of COVID now, maybe.
Yeah.
But like e-learning is still so misunderstood, and people think like, oh, cool, that's like Udemy, or that's like my online courses through university.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where the conversation begins and ends for them, but it's so much more than that. And as a marketer,
100%. Actually, you know what, Colten, because I really want to dive deep into the topic of learning for today's episode. Of course, just leveraging the fact that you know a lot about this, right? So I would love if you, first of all, before I know that we had some sort of outline for this podcast and everything, but I would love if before we dive deep into what e-learning opportunities might exist out there, you actually go in for everybody that doesn't understand what e-learning is, if you can not necessarily just define it, but more importantly, tell the people what it's all about or what it entails in its concept, right?
Yeah. So e-learning, there's two kind of main channels with it. You've got asynchronous or synchronous e-learning. Synchronous is those are your live courses. That's where people like, you've got a live teacher on the other side of the camera. I'm teaching right now for a university. I'm teaching digital marketing here in a synchronous fashion for my students. And that's good, but it's tough to scale that. Yeah. Basically what it means is, 1 hour of your time equals as much profit or as much revenue as you can squeeze out of that hour. Right. And then that's the end of it. Asynchronous, meaning, you do the work up front, you create a course, and then you deliver that to people. that's where the opportunity is, and not just for revenue, for a lot of things, which I'll get into in a couple of minutes. But e-learning, it could be videos, it could be written content, it could be a combination of both. Typically, you'll find e-learning delivered properly through what's called an LMS, a learning management system. There's lots of them out there. WordPress has a fairly popular one called LearnDash. I use one through Thrive Themes. They have a built-in LMS in their kind of theme builder and page architect, which is really awesome. And it doesn't have to be a product. You don't have to sell e-learning. It could be free, and it can be a tool that companies use for lots of different things, both retention, lead generation, a bunch of different stuff.
Exactly. That's actually something that a little bit later we're going to discuss, but definitely for not only people that want to dedicate their life to having an e-learning business, whether that is through courses or whether that is through, I don't know, some sort of coaching even, right? But we're going to see that even for client acquisition, courses or any sort of e-learning product is going to be an amazing way for you to get your foot in the door, right? To get more people to actually notice you, or like you just said, like something that maybe is going to be like one of those light bulb moments that you can even create a course for existing customers. Maybe I don't want to say the word brainwashing as if it's like challenging their beliefs or anything, but it's mostly to actually get more people to actually understand the value what you're already delivering to them, right? For example, right?
Yeah, like that's a crazy idea. The upsell as an e-learning course. Holy, yeah. Like we've got, a repertoire or a portfolio of clients who are like SEO clients, but you want everybody to really feel the value of, I don't know, Google ads on top of their SEO, making a course about how that works and what the process looks like, and just like asking them to spend 20-30 minutes to go through the course like that. Just small stuff like that can be super, super valuable.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I wanted to ask you now more explicitly, right? Like for somebody that might be interested, and listen, this might be an existing agency owner or a SaaS founder, or it could be just a day-to-day normal person that doesn't have a business, for example, right? What e-learning opportunities can these people find on there? Yeah, I know that you mentioned courses or writing, but more specifically, like what exact step-by-step maybe you would suggest to somebody that wants to put up an e-learning product out there in the marketplace?
Cool. Yeah, there's 100 different ways you could go about it. Yeah. There's tailor-made platforms for creating and delivering e-learning. So if that's all you want to do, like Kajabi is a popular platform, I think, for creating and then delivering e-learning. There's a few others out there. I'm not too familiar with them because I'm not in that specific. I don't just do e-learning, so I haven't looked at those platforms too closely. Yeah. But WordPress has tons of plugins, opportunities. LearnDash would be one. Like I said, Thrive Themes with their Thrive Apprentice is the plugin that lets you have a full backend LMS. Basically, if you tie that to WooCommerce or Stripe, then you have a machine that can sell e-learning, right? So all you need to do at that point is design your course. You need to write your curriculum. Well, you got to decide what you want to teach and why you're teaching it. The scope of how far down that path you want to go, like to what extent do you want to teach people something? And then you got to write your curriculum, break that out into, is this content better as a video? Is it better as written? Is it better as a combination? Should you have quizzes and confirmations of learning before people can move into the next step? Yeah. All kind of things you got to think about. So, if you're a business person or you're running a small business, you really need to put on your teacher hat and think about what's the best way that I can not only share this information, but also ensure that people are getting as much value from it as possible. Exactly.
That actually, I think, is going to connect super well with something that we were spoiling a little bit. We're going to talk about, but I would love it if you can dive deep into some ways in which agency owners or SaaS businesses can incorporate courses into their arsenal, whatever that means, right? Because it could be as lead magnets, it could be as front-end offers, it could be as back-end offers, via upsells, etc. Like, can you maybe just throw some light for people to actually start thinking and getting their juices flowing on different ways to incorporate learning products to their core service-based businesses, for example?
Sure, man. So I'll throw out kind of a random one here, but if you think of how to grow your business, right? You have clients, you've got revenue coming in the door. How do you service those clients, right? I'm just thinking client service business here. You basically scale that with human resources, whether you outsource it or you hire internally, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that everybody on your team has exactly the same process? Because that's how you scale. You need to deploy the same process over and over and over. You can't have coming in playing cowboy. So creating a back-end e-learning course or series of courses to teach your new staff, like the onboarding process and like
man.
how to run your show. Like, hey, this is how we do this, right? And then you quiz them at the end, like, cool, Jeff, welcome to the team. You've got 3 days to take our full e-learning training. You're paid for that time. But you need to pass that before you're going to get into any client accounts, and then we'll have a chat. So it can be a really powerful and scalable way to do onboarding, and like just to have operational excellence in your company, because that's such a important piece of scaling your company.
Yeah, man.
So that's one piece of it. Obviously, like, you know, if you think of it as a lead magnet, I like to think of it almost like a little tripwire offer. So if you're in the client service business, I don't know, offering, let's say web design like I am, what type of course can you create that's a tripwire for somebody, one of your potential clients? Like, obviously, you know, you might be after clients who already have a website, you want to build them a better one. So it might be like a course like how to build the best landing page on WordPress sites that converts at X%, right?
Yeah.
The goal with that is like, yeah, you give them the information how to do it. Ultimately, you want to show them that it's a little bit more complex than they might believe right now, and you know, they're going to want to just pay you to do it. There's a certain percentage when you teach somebody something, there's always a certain percentage of people who are like, wow, that's really cool, I learned so much, can you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Do it, right? So you know, that's the tripwire offer. You take a high value course, $300 or something, and you pare it down to like $10, $20 and say, hey, you know, learn a really important skill in 3 hours, something like that. So that would be kind of a front end offer that I might position e-learning for. The other cool thing though, and e-learning is so powerful because it's not just like a downloadable PDF that people take away and they read, you know, on their computer. It brings them to your website. So if you think of like the goals of sites like Amazon and Facebook, you know, keeping users on your site in your ecosystem for longer, e-learning is such a powerful tool because by necessity, it brings people to your site and it keeps them there for a long time. So you can track their actions, you can send them emails, you can serve more pop-ups or interstitials, whatever you want, because people are they're in your ecosystem. They're getting value from you by being on your site.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And something that I also believe that is necessary to talk about in this, now that we're just on the topic of e-learning, is actually how this might be the replacement for typical education, right? Like, for example, of course, an e-learning product can be all the way from how to create the best pencil in Costa Rica, aka my country, all the way to how to scale a coaching business to 6 figures and then all the way to 7 figures. Okay, what I'm trying to say is there are different levels in the depth of the information you're sharing, right? And that being said, because of that situation, I mean, there are lots of people out there that could literally, instead of, for example, having to go through traditional college or university, just start to consume this type of content that is ultimately going to teach them a certain set of skill sets to actually get to that goal, which for lots of people is just to make money, right? I will be the mentor to say that if the goal is to make money only, you will be better off by consuming a certain set of strategic e-learning products to get a certain outcome, right? But yeah, man, I think that e-learning is taking the word, and it's just growing year by year, by the way, right?
Well, we're in this weird place right now where like universities specifically are losing a lot of ground and a lot of credibility because the cost of degrees has gone up and up and up. The value that you gain from that degree has only gone down. More people have degrees, right? So like having a bachelor's degree from a university doesn't mean what it used to, and yet it costs way more money. Plus, people are just more mobile now. Like, you know, maybe you don't want to live in the city center just so you can attend school and you rack up more and more debt to live there. Like maybe you want to live in the countryside while you attend school. And so as universities, they're behind the curve trying to move online. Even throughout COVID, they've not executed on it perfectly. The costs haven't gone down. So like the value is it's diluted so much now, right? I look at myself, like my university degree was East Asian studies. Like I studied Buddhism.
Really, man, I didn't know that.
To Japan, right? And what do I do for a living though? I run a digital marketing company.
Yeah.
You know, so your degree, it just doesn't mean as much these days, unless you're in STEM or something. I don't know. I've got a lack of faith in like
unless you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, that you
exactly. Yeah.
know a certain thing, right? For sure.
Yeah, but the other thing too is like, so the e-learning that I sold at the company I was at previously, it was certified e-learning. So if you wanted, you had to take these courses to get a job, basically on like a job site. So, you know, if you're working construction or oil and gas, you needed safety certificates, and these safety certificates, the training could be taken online. So that's what we sold.
Yeah.
The idea behind that is you have industry support, industry backing, saying that these certificates are what you need to do the job. You know, you can't get that education at a university. That's only online, or you find a service provider who has classroom training. But this is kind of the way the world is moving. You're going to have micro credentials and certifications from independent parties that are going to get the stamping of a bigger company. So,
yeah.
For instance, you know, if you're really ambitious, you could partner with a nonprofit here in Canada, right? And you can have them create an accreditation that their nonprofit, their association supports. Then you create e-learning to train people to earn that certification, that accreditation, right? You become the sole vendor for that training for the nonprofit association to deliver that certification to people. So they take your course, then they get a stamp in their book from ABC Association. That certification, that license, whatever, might allow them, you know, better job opportunities, or depending on the association, what it is, like that might be a government thing where the government requires its employees going into, I don't know, whatever industry or whatever region to have training to deal with the people there, or deal with the, you know, you go so deep with this whole e-learning thing. It's just
it's an endless, exactly. It's an endless fountain of possibilities that I mean, literally the sky is the limit. Like you could create anything and benefit anyone when it comes to e-learning, right? Sort of curiosity, like, do you have any course currently selling or not?
No, we're in the midst right now of I just sold my e-learning website, actually.
No way, man.
I was running a website from 2014 until this past year, and yeah, I was able to exit that, so that was good. But for Clickex, for my agency, we're currently developing some of those kind of front-end tripwire offers. But ultimately, like, you know, 2023, 2024 is going to be the years where we're developing a full ecosystem of e-learning to support just all parts of our operation. I talk about operational excellence and onboarding, client upsells, lead acquisition, all these different pieces can be supported, not necessarily solved, but supported in huge part by e-learning initiatives, right? You just have to make sure you've got the platform and somebody who can write and film a decent curriculum.
Exactly. Awesome. And just to something that I always like to ask all of the podcast guests that we have, Colten. Of course, there are going to be some people that this is going to be the first and last time that they're going to know about you, and I mean that's okay. Of course, we hope that most of them actually go and actually search who you are, etc. But for that group of people that this is the last thing that they might ever heard about you, I want you to tell something to these people, right? Something that either represents you. It doesn't have to be necessarily business related. It could be about life. It could be about business if you want to. It could be about family, whatever, brother. Like, I just want to give you a space for you to spread your message, whatever that means for you.
Cool, man. I don't know, maybe people are familiar with like the anti-work subreddit on Reddit. Like that's a place that I've spent some time in the past couple of years. I've really, like, as a business owner, former employee, now business owner with my own staff, like I'm really pushing for, like, people don't need to work their whole lives. People don't need to work. I don't even believe 40 hours a week is a reasonable ask for most people, unless you've got equity in the company. I'm a big fan of the 4-day work week max, right? I don't know. I want people to enjoy their lives. I want people to feel that they can generate value without having their ass in a seat forever. Because there's other ways to generate value as a human being, like being a parent, being a friend, being a family member, whatever, like being outside and chopping wood and I don't know, just being in nature. That's I guess my parting piece. I didn't really think about this ahead of time, but ass in seat, you know, generating value for a company does not always equate a great life. There's just a lot more to it than that.
Thank you, man. Just again, I know this is like the second part to the question, maybe, but it's because I think that a lot of people are going to be like, okay, but then what's the secret in order to get there, right? So, like, you have some tips maybe that you would like to share on maybe prioritizing so that people understand what they need to focus on, and basically know that, or like time management, etc. Something that you would like to share.
I'm assuming the audience here is going to be like maybe solopreneurs, smaller agency owners. Like, you don't have it all 100% figured out yet. I don't either, right? I've been a executive level employee, but like this is my first run at like running a business this past year and a half. Charge more, deliver more value for the hours that you put in. You know, don't do time wasting things. Like, you know, somebody says, hey, we'll pay you to edit this video, and like you've got an hourly rate. Maybe that's not the best use of your time. Maybe you need to like sell a bigger project to them, right? Make sure that if you engage with a client, you're earning and delivering great value to them, and then that tends to free up your time. You tend to make more revenue that way, in my experience, and then that lets you hire other great people. And that's the other piece of it. Hire great people and get out of their way. Like don't micromanage the things that your team are doing. Give them a process, make sure they do great work, make sure that they're good at it. But then yeah, let people support you and you support them.
Awesome. Colten, thank you very much for being on the podcast, man. It's been definitely a pleasure for me, and I know that for the audience too, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.